Alrighty. Okay. Broadcasting from Lady Lake, Florida, and glad to see your smiling faces. I was going to talk about things tonight, and I remember teachings from Edgar Casey, and it was really interesting, with all this virus stuff going on. I remember Edgar Casey's teachings when I was just a very young teenager, and we had a study group, and all the other people were adults, and I was a kid, and I would sit in on it and listen to it all the time. And he talked about different events happening in the world. There were going to be pandemics, and there were going to be things happening that spiritually was going to put everyone to the test and say, spiritually, are we or aren't we being personally responsible? And I really believe this is a circumstance now that we're all awakening to, that personal responsibilities hit everyone pretty direct and pretty hard, as to, well, now we have to be thoughtful and watchful and not be the carefree and thoughtless person. I think there's a lot of people out there that are still the thoughtless individual at this point, and I feel it's going to catch up. And all the things in the world that are going on, I had a lady say something to me one time, and she was talking about, before the virus occurred, she was talking about all of the people being in power, presidents and heads of countries and heads of businesses, all these things. And she made a comment and said, well, are all the bad and wrong people in the powerful positions that they're in? And I said to her, I said, it's an awakening. It's bringing out all these things in people that are not necessarily the most positive things, and it's bringing it all to the surface. And it's making people realize that we want to depend on all these other people for circumstances of protection, guidance, whatever level of life it may be. And now we're really needing to look at things and say, wait a minute, what are we doing and why are we doing it? I remember as a child receiving messages. When I was 11, I had the experience of passing over 3 times in a week. And it was a very, very altering experience for me. But I remember the events I was seeing in the future, and like the space shuttle, the first one that exploded, and various earthquakes and tsunamis and different things that came to me while I was having that experience. And that was when I was 11. And I still have things happening that are now happening that I had then and they were showing me then. So it's something I find fascinating to look at the world around us and have something this big affect everyone. And spiritually, it's really a big endeavor now to look at our own lives and say, all right, where are we at in our spiritual endeavor and balance? What balance are we creating? I think the world got really out of hand for quite a while there, in a sense of people not being responsible, not being thoughtful, very self centered, very manipulative energy. Narcissistic fits a lot of things that are going on. And I find that that energy now is being met with the reality and the sunlight of people seeing it and understand that it's happening. And I feel this is something we're all going to get through just fine. I don't see it as a big a deal as they're trying to make it out to be, but I do feel that in many, many, many levels, the ball was dropped on who had the positions of watching, protecting, guiding, directing things. There's a whole bunch of people in the world that, in their positions of work or career, they weren't on the ball at all. And that's where we're now at, as a personal responsibility, because we've gotten to the point in our societies where we just let everything go. And as long as it doesn't directly affect us, we just ignore it and go on. And now we're having it hitting us in ways that are affecting everybody. I would say, in not that I like saying this, but I think there's going to be probably 60% of America that's going to be experiencing some sort of virus connection to the events in the world and what's going on, because people were sleeping on the watch and not being aware of what they were doing. And now it's a personal responsibility level that we're coming to. I feel in one way it's a wonderful thing, it's waking people up, but on another level, it's terrible to see the damage that's done in the process. And I felt spiritually like Edgar Casey. He explained a lot of things when I was a kid, and he talked about futuristically, the world was going to be changing quite a bit, not only in an earth change energy, which I feel now the scientists are actually connecting with and understanding more. And it's also a spiritual energy. For the physical world to change around us and for us to take steps in the most positive direction, we have to spiritually make the change also. And that's really comes first before the idea of what we would physically do with the planet. I feel it's what we are doing mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually in our own lives. And what responsibility are we taking and having that thoughtfulness to think about it? We get very caught up in our earth plane things to deal with and do, be it work, be it family, relationships in some form. And now we're being faced with the idea that it's made everybody come to a halt and say, now we have to be cautious, careful, and safe. I know in Ohio, they shut a lot of things down, New York State. I mean, there's quite a few places that they've really been tightening up. And I have to say, on a spiritual level, it's really a good thing to make people think, and it's making them think in a deeper way than what they're ever used to. And it's going to be fine. I really feel if we're carrying the energy spiritually in the most positive manner, we're not going to have a problem. And it's something that I see people that get into the fear mode. You know, I was laughing. A friend of mine said to me, he said he walked in the store and he goes, the shelves are empty, the toilet paper's gone. And he walked in another store and he said, all of a sudden there's, plenty of everything. But he said everybody was in such a panic and he couldn't understand all the panic. And it's something that, how long has so many people gone without awareness and without needing to be responsible, or at least ignoring it to some extent? And now we're at a point where we have to face it. I know down here they've been changing a lot of businesses, shutting down the squares where they have the music and all the people gather. There's a lot of things going on. They're changing. And I know in New York State, they shut everything down up there that they could possibly shut down. I find it, excuse me, I find it fascinating that it takes something like this for people to wake up and, in essence, think about a spiritual endeavor and think about their own spirituality and why are we having happen what happens. And I believe that we're awakening to that now. And those of us like tonight, we're talking about it and sharing with each other. Now, this energy to me is a healing energy. And this energy to me is to not get focused on the idea of the fear, not get focused on the idea of what's going to happen. I think I mentioned earlier, their classes right around the time span of voting, there would be a period of time that the stock market would change and go down and be problems. And we're having all that occur, and it's going to occur more. And I feel a double whammy of that. We're going to have it now and what's going on, but we're also going to have it hit again when we're voting for the presidency. We're going to have it hit again. And the people are needing just to be aware of the idea that it's there, it happens, we'll drift through that without any big problem. And just to be thoughtful. How many things in our lives actually change our lives to the extent that we recently have had this happen and make us look at things and think about things that we normally wouldn't? We didn't need to. And now here's this whole shift of energy occurring. In my moments of meditation, I find that spirit's working with us, and they basically are showing me like Edgar Casey predicted. The events are going to be occurring, and it has nothing to do with the event and as an event. How are we handling it? And in what way are we being personally responsible? And in what way is, say, governmentally and higher levels of people that are supposedly in control of things, in what way are they doing it? So I think there's a real awakening going on now. And I feel in our way of making it a better energy would bring balance in with our own prayer and our own thought, and in a meditative manner, just calmly send out energy of calmness and healing to the people around us. I've already talked to a number of people that I read for in that, and a number of them said how crazy it's been, and they're getting a little frightened. No need for fear at all. This is something that I feel, the old adage of this also will pass. And I just feel it's an awakening. And as we get that balance and reconnect with that balance in ourselves, it's making ourselves come back to this spiritual harmony that we can function in. Not always do we, because we let ourselves get caught up in a lot of things, but to be aware of that is so important now. You know, we were checking emails and things, and Lloydale shut down for a while and said no churches, no nothing, don't have the gatherings. And then they one lady started up a healing service where they're doing it over the internet. So it's wonderful that people still work with sending out the energy and communicating. And I would suggest to all of us that we become involved in that manner where you have these connections with others, that it's a positive energy and a healing energy, and not be worrying so much about it. Not to trivialize what's going on. I think there's a lot happening pretty heavy duty, but on another level, it is something that we're all learning and growing from. And in a spiritual way, I find myself looking at this as something that I felt coming. I realized there was going to be something occur. And I was looking at earth changes at times for a while there and thinking, well, what earth changes would be occurring to make people stop, look, and listen? But what better way to make people stop, look, and listen than something occurring that affects the whole planet and everybody on the planet? I feel this is going to be going until this coming fall, and it'll be something that I feel will reach a peak. It'll get a little worse before it gets better, and then it's going to unwind and calm down. But I feel in the process of that, certainly there'll be some people that are in jeopardized conditions with health that may not be here later. But it's something that's where we need to just send out the thought and prayer, because think of it this way: spiritually, as a lesson, we're here to learn and grow. And this is a pretty major lesson affecting how many millions of people. And I find that there's a lot of people now that are really have been on a spiritual pathway. They've been thinking about it a lot, and they tune themselves to that level. Let's continue to do that at a deeper level. And the importance of that becomes primary and not secondary. And it's something, as it becomes primary, we're bringing the balance of God's presence and Spirit's presence into the action and what we're taking in action. And the healing energy is wonderful. So we don't need the fear. And I know we have each of our own levels of whether we're working or not. I've spoken to a few people that they're doing remote from home and things like that, and it's worked out wonderfully for them. I feel that we have so many new opportunities because of this happening. There's new opportunities, new things being thought of and enacted upon to do that are really wonderful and positive things. So let's stick with thought around that and why we're doing that and what we can do to make it all better, and not allow it to be a circumstance that we get caught up in the fear. I've been at the grocery store in a few places, and I've seen people, and you can just see it in their eyes and feel the vibration of the fear with them, that it's like, it's sad to see them in that kind of fear, but obviously they haven't allowed themselves to be relaxed and be in tune to what they need to be in tune to, or they wouldn't be approaching it in that manner. I was over at a grocery store in the golf cart, and I was sitting there and I was watching people drive golf carts and buggies, and they were pushing the buggies around and about run each other over. And it's like, wait a minute here. I hope you drive a car better than that. It was pretty crazy. And it was like, glad to go home. I feel an energy with all of you that we each have our own little niche that we're in, that we're really working on and dealing with. But I really see it as a good energy. And we have the healing prayers going out for people that we know and we hear their names of. We have it on the web. And it's something, if you want to add names in, or people that's had some problems with illness, be it mental, physical, spiritual, doesn't matter. And we'll work on that too. Now, what I'd like to do is start people on the thought of, what are we going to spiritually do to bring the harmony, not only in our own body, mind, and spirit, but what are we going to do with family and friendships that we can work with and work on to bring that harmony and bring that calmness? And I know there's a number of people that I've spoken to that really, I mean, they just came from such a fearful level, and we're needing to look at that as something that's just completely unneeded. I'd like to start with, since we have a little time here, I'd like to have, if someone wants to raise their hand, a question about that without it being a personal reading or, predictions about the virus. If you have other things you'd like to ask about here that is a spiritual endeavor, your meditative endeavor, your mediumship endeavor, we'd like to work on that. Yes.
Hi there.
Hi.
So I would like to ask you, as far as the words, I've been doing meditation at night, and
Mm-hmm.
the meditation is you bring, if something comes to mind, you bring it up 3 times, and then you drop it into the pool of the practice.
Mm-hmm.
I've been doing that, like with keeping everyone healthy and all that, and healing energy and stuff like that. Do you have some words for, like, when I'm in a more conscious state, to appeal more to spirit? I mean, that's more like a personal meditation, but do you have one to appeal to spirit for that with? Just in
Well,
general.
what I do personally is when I have something come to mind or I'm witnessing in the physical world, events, people, I see things around them that are painful to them or fearful to them, I always send out the thought of surrounding them in light. And I always put that intent and thought for the healing, that may the spirit world come to them in a way they may understand and change and feel better. And I always send that thought out. And it doesn't matter whether it's strangers or I've done that in restaurants with people sitting at another table. And just to put out that energy of thought, because it's the intent and the energy behind that intent that's building, and it's going to affect them. I've had it happen so many times where people turn and look at me and they don't know why they're looking at me, but on an inner innate level, they sense the energy and they sense where it's coming from. And it's something I just smile at them and say hello. And if they're not that close, I don't say hello, but I just smile at them and nod, and I go on. And I don't think about it as something that we have to make any major attachment or connection to them verbally, but it's the idea of just sending out that healing energy. I've had that happen all the time. I was sitting in the golf cart over here at this store, and one lady come out, and it's like, oh my God, I could feel the panic with her. And I said to her, I said, boy, isn't it a beautiful day out here? And she says, oh yeah, it's really beautiful. And you could feel the energy in her. And so I'm teasing her a bit about the day and how wonderful it is, and have a wonderful day. And she finally sat there and looked at me for a moment, and she says, it is a wonderful day, isn't it? And it's like you can see the shift of energy, of attitude and belief system. I mean, things shifted. And I think it's wonderful to be able to work with that and do that. And I have many people that they have no clue that I'm a medium or that I work with healing in that manner. They just look at me as a complete stranger. But the energy's there. There's a language that goes beyond what we speak. And there's a language that is so innate in our bodies, our minds, and our spirits that we connect with the other person. And I find that even if the person doesn't respond at that moment, a little bit afterwards, it's like, wait a minute, I feel better with that statement. I feel better with that energy. And some people actually recognize it as healing. I had one woman one time, I had sent out the energy to her, and she turned and looked at me and she says, I don't know why I'm saying thank you. So it's like innately they know, and there's a response on the spirit level inside. So when you're doing that, and you don't need to think about it in a sense of you're meditating to do it, you can just send that thought out as you walk by them.
I see. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Who would be next?
We have Lucille.
Lucille.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, actually. My question is, I recently had a dear friend's daughter got in a terrible car accident, and I have been trying to send I have been sending healing energy
Good.
all day. For multiple days now. And at 3 o'clock, I try to send healing, calming energy to the world
Hmm.
to assist everyone. And then I find I am asking Spirit to take over for me because I'm getting very tired. Is there a way to maintain my own personal energy and still continue to put it out there a lot?
Well, one of the things that we'll start on first would be this. We need to all recognize that we need to let God's energy flow through us.
Mm-hmm.
And we're the catalyst, or some people look at it as, sort of a plumbing that it flows through us. And
Mm-hmm.
not to try to do it analytically yourself, because then you do get drained.
Yeah.
I've had a number of people that are healers, and a couple of them said to me, I do healing for 2 people and I'm exhausted. Well, they were trying to do healing in a more forceful manner of trying to consciously be independently doing it and not allowing it to be God's flow of energy. And when you're doing that and sending the energy, your compassion for that person, for example, like the young lady that's in the accident,
Yeah.
you're connected to that whole family energy. So
Right.
it's hard for you to divide yourself, and the ability to divide yourself you're not used to. So
Right.
when you learn to divide yourself in a way of just saying, all right, I'm letting it flow through me, and just imagine yourself being that channel, that conduit, and it just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger and allowing the flow to occur. And I look at it as not trying to specifically focus on a particular healing, meaning, all right, they broke their arm or they broke their hip or they whatever they did. I don't get that intensified in the sense of what individual things. I
Mm-hmm.
see them in light and I see them filled with light and I watch it get brighter and brighter. And that means the conduit you're creating is opening more and more. And
Okay.
God's energy continues to flow through it. And I believe that as a healer, when we're doing the healing in that form, the healing energy heals us too.
Yes.
There's a residual energy there that we're being healed while we're being that channel for the healing to go to others. And that needs to be recognized. So as you recognize that you have that compassion for that person or that family, certainly you're putting the energy out there, but allow it to be the conduit and think of it as a conduit. Even if you imagine the funnel of light, going to that family and going to that person, because think of it this way, I would imagine the whole family is sending her energy also,
Oh, yes.
and you're sending energy to the family and you're including her in that, but it's not necessarily a focus of just her or a particular injury. Because when we start to break it down, my grandmother always taught me as a child, if you broke the toe, you can still put your hand on their shoulders and the healing is going to go where it needs to go.
Right.
Not
She's
be thinking about it in a sense of we have to be specific.
right. She's so injured that it would be everything. So
I feel there's internal organs that are having a problem. I
yeah,
feel she actually bled internally. And I feel there was an injury level that they had to do something with. I'm not sure to what degree of surgery, but something
many.
they had to do to shut down the blood internally in the body.
Hmm.
And I feel that was lower body, abdomen area, and I feel also damage to the chest and the bone structure.
Hmm.
That makes sense there?
Yes, she's very, and they're having difficulty uh, getting the blood flow to her legs, and they're doing taking veins out of her arm and and they're having trouble having everything work. And
Well,
but she's doing better than she could be doing.
well, I'll say it this way. I really feel the guardian angels kept her here, and it's a circumstance there that I see a lot of internal injury. It's going to take a long time to heal,
Yeah.
but I do feel it can heal. I don't feel that they necessarily would lose her. I feel she's going to come through.
Mhm.
I see her having difficulty with left leg and nerve centers in the low spine.
Okay. All right.
She needs to be in a specialist, certainly, and I'm sure that's what they have. But I
Mhm.
see her being able to come out of things, but create that funnel of energy
Okay.
pour it into the family and let it be there. I have found myself in healing at times, either sitting back in a relaxed mode and watch the funnel of energy grow. And I was a part of it, but yet I was on the outside of it.
Okay.
And it's just amazing how much energy can build up. I've had it happen where I could be sitting somewhere and I would go into sweating. The energy would be so
Wow.
strong. So it's wonderful what you're doing and what you're sending out. And please continue. But
Okay.
try to look at it as that flow of energy through you, and you're the vehicle for the flow.
Okay. That's very helpful. Thank you.
You're welcome. God bless you. Next. Anyone else have something they'd like to ask?
Marina. Marina.
Hi, Marina.
Hi, Reverend.
Hi.
Yeah, I'm back from Peru. Reverend, I know I had tried to ask this before. Do pets, when a pet has died, do they remember if they were hurt right before their death? And also, do they need a time of adjustment before they can come visit us? Because as you may know, my doggy died 2 weeks ago.
Well, I know I've had pets pass over and they were there that evening. And I remember especially one animal that passed, I was very close to, and the dog was very, very old when he passed away. And he came to me that evening, and we had taken him to the vet, and they had to put him down because he was in such bad shape. And he was there that evening laying on the bed. And yes, they do remember an awareness, but yet also they're very loving and healing energy. Because remember, the one thing that sometimes people don't think about, we think about whether it's a person or a pet, we think about them having pain or illness or whatever may be going on. In reality, when they step out of the body, that's just no longer there, and it's no longer an effect on them, and they're happy and at peace. And I'm sure they're right there with you. And we actually, in my mind, in a way, we could suffer more with that than the pet that passed or the person that passed, because they're free. They're free. They're healed. They're no longer having that. I've had it happen where I had a pet pass away in my arms, and my mother was a medium, my grandmother was a medium, and I was just a young boy at that point, and I was holding the pet, and it passed over, and it was just a very loving kitty, and it passed away. And that evening, my mother and my grandmother both saw the cat running through the living room, and the cat came over and got in my lap. And it's something there that I'm sure there's a transition of them understanding that they're no longer in the body, but that's just like a person. You know, my mother, when she passed away, she died at 4:10, and at 5:12, she was standing at the end of my bed. And I don't feel any pain or suffering related to the animal that passed. And I feel the energy there that they're with you. And don't hang on to the negativity of people on the earth plane that can be thoughtless, as well as in some ways sort of a feelingless, that they don't have the feelings or awarenesses. Don't be concerned about that. That pet's fine there. They're with you.
Oh, she's so okay. I haven't dreamt of her yet or anything.
Well, the stress you've been under and losing them has really limited you on the ability to be relaxed enough to let them come through in a dream. You know, I have a pet one time that passed away, and it passed one day. It actually had been hit by a vehicle, and that evening, or that night, I should say, I woke up to it breathing on me, and it was standing by the side of the bed. And don't think that they can't find you and that they wouldn't be with you. They will be. Good.
Thank you, Reverend.
Bless you.
Thank you.
Someone else have a question?
Caroline.
Hi, Caroline.
Hello, how are you all? Hi, Dr. Kehn.
We're
I have-
doing wonderful down here. I mean, it's been great.
Oh, I'm glad to hear it.
Well,
I'm
in the picture, you're seeing Lolydale and the Forest Temple, but we're actually in Lady Lake, Florida, and this is where we live down here for the winter.
Yes, I was wondering what you were going to do in terms of traveling. Florida to New York with all the stuff going on.
Well, actually, I'm really not concerned about it. We should be leaving sometime the end of April and be up there the first part of May. And I don't really feel any big concern over it. I think the idea of cautiousness and thoughtfulness, that's really the major thing.
Yes, yes, I agree. Just to be very careful and mindful.
Yeah.
My question for you is, so I've recently become very aware that I'm an empath, you know,
Hmm.
feel other people's feelings. And
Yeah.
um, I'm just wondering, when you don't want to feel other people's energy because it's really negative, is there anything that you particularly do to, I don't know, keep yourself detached from that negativity to,
Well, you can put out the thought of intent that you're sending them love, you're sending them healing. You know, I've had people at times, and I didn't understand their concept, but they'd be looking at it as, well, I got to get away from this person, and they'd be very negative in their energy. That to me just magnifies what's going on. And if we look at the energy, and not necessarily are you looking at it as feeling sorry for someone, but it's the idea that, okay, they obviously have no comprehension or understanding of that, and you surround them in light and you send them healing and you create a bubble. And if you want to do the bubble around you, you can just imagine it being a bubble around you and nothing but good can come to me. Or you can create a bubble around them that, they're not spreading this energy and they may see and heal from what they've experienced. And for yourself, when you're feeling all these things, I would say it this way: creating a boundary in a meditative manner. It's almost like saying, if I put my arms out to the side and said, okay, here's my space, and this is my space. Now, I'm not losing touch or awareness with anything going on, but it's my space. And by having that set up in that form, and you're creating that bubble to be in that is your energy, you're choosing to open up to whatever you want to open up to. And it's like touchscreen. I touch it, the door's open. I touch it again, the door's closed. Well, when you feel the energy, you just touch the screen, you're sending them healing. And you do that so you have your own spatial dimensions of energy that's really yours. And another part of that I think you've been experiencing is people pulling from you, and not just the idea that they may, let's say, think negative or act negative or say things negative, but they may pull energy from you. And when you have that happening, I find that you can use an imaginary shears, scissors, you just cut it off. God bless them, but you're cutting it off, and you walk away from it, and you don't allow it to have any effect on you. And what we need to be aware of is when we continue thinking about it, we're also either reconnecting or continued the connection. And if you allow it to be something that really bugs you and you're thinking about it over and over, then we're making the connection there. My mother and grandmother had a statement saying, God bless them somewhere else, preferably further away. And whether that's further away from you or you're further away from them, God bless them.
okay, I will do that. Thank you very much.
I think that may help you because you're beginning to have moments where it surprises you how open you are and what you do pick up on.
Yeah, most of the time it's draining. It's not like I'm walking around, except for this group, and I run across a large, or just anybody who's this uplifting, positive energy. It's typically drainers.
Yeah.
I'm trying to keep the energy up, and if you're at work, smile at somebody, and like you said, isn't this a beautiful day? And
Mhm.
mention all the positive things in life, and
Well, the old adage of kill them with kindness, they don't know what to do with that because you're giving them such an opposite energy from where they're functioning from. And a lot of them are takers. I know some people refer to them as leeching energy from you. And that's what they do, is they thrive on pulling energy from everybody. I've actually walked through stores and seen people doing that. And there's a lot of people who have no awareness, and it's wonderful that you have an awareness that you're picking up on it. And if you can pick up on it, you're able then to shut it down and not allow them to pull from you.
Well, I mean, could you tell me why are they doing it? I'm kind of, I have a question in terms of, do they have no energy themselves, or are they somewhat, are they these types of people, individuals, are they like these self-depleting machines, so can't they
They,
can't
they're always depleting energy from someone else, and they don't want to put the effort or the energy or the sincerity into retaining their own energy. And it's easier for them just to reach out and keep taking. And I find at times I've had people like that around me, and I just bless them. And I've learned to put that wall up, and they don't know what to do with that. I've had them literally physically walk away from me because they didn't know what to do with the energy. You just create that void that they have no plug in on you at all.
okay, all right, I will give that a try and bless them instead of,
Well, see,
um,
I've had a couple people who want to bless them, but it wasn't exactly in the most positive manner.
all right, I understand.
Yeah.
It's practice makes perfect, right?
Yep. God bless you, dear.
Thank you. You too.
Who's next?
We have Leah.
Hi, Leah.
Hi, I just had a question about children who are in spirit and what their development is like on the other side. Let's say 18 years later, 10 years later after they pass, do they achieve adulthood in spirit or?
Uh, I'll give an explanation of personal experience with some people around me. There was a young man that passed away, and he passed away. He just got his driver's license. His father thought he was quite responsible, and he gave him the Corvette to drive.
Oh,
And he demolished the Corvette and himself in an accident, a single car accident. And the car and the son was so badly damaged that the father actually did CPR on him and didn't know it was his son.
oh,
And the energy that was there was something that he has come for readings over the years. And the boy's growing in spirit. He's learned, he's grown, he's progressed. He still learns from the family and parents. He still gains from them. And he's on the spirit side, and he's very well cared for. And I've had, I could go on story after story that I know about that, someone young had passed. Also, when we miscarriage a child, this is my belief, and this is what Spirit has shared with me, that when someone is miscarrying a child that you would say is before birth, that soul's already reached the earth plane because they reached the earth plane through the mother. And when they leave the earth plane, even though they may not be, quote, born, they leave the earth plane, they're on the spirit side and they're still connected with that mother and family and father, and all the connections are there. And I've had it happen many times. I had a lady one time that she had documentation of when she lost the baby, and spirit came through with the exact month and day that she lost the baby. And this was just a matter of a few months into the pregnancy. And the child came through and gave the month and day. So, there's a reason they leave. And that's like when someone young leaves, I've heard many, many times, we should bury the old people, not the young people. And I remember a young lady that had a car accident in the winter. She lost control of the car and died in an accident. And I happened to be friends with the whole family, and I was at the funeral. And she stood beside me and said to me, she said, I had to leave. I had to leave. It was my time. We can't measure mourning because, some people have different ways of believing and feeling and experiencing. But we also can't measure someone's life in a sense of saying, all right, they were only here such a short period of time. They were here fulfilling what they needed to fulfill, and they fulfilled it, or they wouldn't have left.
with people who had difficulty the communicating on the earth plane. I worked with a lot of children with autism, with mental disabilities and that, and they pass over. Are they able then to communicate with the medium because they lose their autism or their inability to communicate?
Any restriction in the body, mentally, emotionally, physically, all the restrictions are gone, and they can communicate. They may relate through the medium the experience they had or the condition they were in, so the parent or family could recognize who they are.
Mm,
But it's
okay,
not that they're living in those conditions on the spirit side.
okay. Thank you.
I know a gentleman that he was an older man,
Mhm.
and I'm not sure what the terms were or diagnosis was, but you know, back then it was something that they considered retarded. And I knew him and talked to him, and he was a very bright fella. And he passed away, and I talked to his family. And when I talked to his family, he came through and said to me, my mom read this book, and I read this book. And everyone just looked at me like I lost my mind. How he could read the book? Well, he read the book and he understood it completely. And it's something that we, in our conscious level, if it doesn't match up with how we think or how we believe or do, all of a sudden it's like they're way out there. Well, a lot of times they're not. I've seen children and in various, descriptions of what they've had wrong. And I look at it as something that's a wonderful blessing to the people around them. You know, it just fascinates me how in tune they can be and how open.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Who would be next? Yes.
Missed it. Who was it? Wave again.
Wave again.
Oh, I got two.
Okay.
Let's do Brooke Marie.
All right. Brooke Marie.
Hello, how is
Hey.
everybody?
Good. We're fine. Enjoying the sunshine.
Yeah, we don't have much of that around here, but that's okay. So
Where are you?
I'm in Cleveland.
Oh, okay.
Actually, today was a sunny day, so I was fibbing. I was fibbing.
Good.
Um, so I have a question about, rechanging or changing habits, or not just thought patterns, but actual like physical patterns, and trying to reground myself in spirituality, um, or reground my spirituality is a better term, I guess. And I'm wondering if you have any like tips or tricks or um, ways to go about doing that.
Well, think of it in this form. Take one thing at a time that you now do want to do, and not worry about the things you've been doing. I wouldn't even hardly pay attention to that. I would look at the idea of what you really want to do that is on a spiritual level, and anchoring and a centering of your thought and your focus, excuse me, and the energy that you want to put out. What realm do I want to function from? Do we want to function from harmony and a healing energy? Or do we want to function from the everyday life energy, which is somewhat carefree and not really focused? And I feel like you're drawing yourself back to what I would term center within you.
Yes, I would
And
agree.
you're also finding there are certain people around you that you've begun to step back from, and it felt like they're way out there. And I'll put it simply and say, even though they act happy and they think it's wonderful whatever's going on around them, and they like to manipulate, you've reached a point where you're realizing that they're not there for you, and it's called misery likes company. And you've actually shut down a few people around you already that you're pulling away from, and not making yourself as available as you used to be involved around them.
Yes.
And that's one of the big steps right there, is to make the conscious break, to step back enough from it and not allow it to be something that you just keep repeatedly being re-involved and re-involved and re-involved. You have to step back from it enough and just create other things that you're focusing on. What's now important say 2 months ago wasn't important, and now it's really, really becoming stronger for you. And I feel the motivation of all the things in the world going on right now. I would say it's a wonderful opportunity for people to be to themselves, more centered, more calm, more intuitively in tune to what they feel and what they sense. You feel things and sense things wonderfully, but you've allowed your life to be in a conscious level, sort of in the flow of where we're going, what we're doing. And now I feel like you're looking at it and going, but I'm really not happy with that. And in some levels, it's actually very boring.
Yes, very much so.
And some of them do the same things over and over and over and over, and they try to portray it as being so happy.
Yes.
And I'm seeing you looking at it now where I want to be happy, and I want to be happy in the heart, and I want to be happy in my life, and I want to be happy with the fact that I can wake up in the morning and appreciate and enjoy that sunny day.
Yes. And
And
it's funny because those days don't look sunny because you're just in the monotony. You're existing. You're not living.
right.
If that makes sense.
Exactly. And that's what I see you doing now is really creating one thing at a time to say, I really desire to put energy into this or put energy into that. And you're starting to focus on the idea that the other things are not taking priority over that.
Absolutely.
I think that'll work wonderfully for you. And you do have a few people that you haven't cleaned house with yet that basically you will, but I see you doing it in a gentle manner and just becoming a bit busy.
Okay.
And then I wasn't planning to do this, but you recently had a problem with a tire on a car
Yes.
because Spirit brought in a tire on the car and they were talking about making sure things are fixed.
Okay. Cool. I'll double check that.
All righty. God bless you.
God bless you.
Who else has a question?
Jessica,
Hi, Jessica.
I have a question. I can feel like I don't know how to call spirit or something. My body, I can feel. I can like a smell, feeling, and then especially last few days, even though I go to bed anytime, even though 10 o'clock I go to bed, every hour I wake up and I feel something inside, like a glow, like I feel something. But I can feel more strongly by body, and then sometimes I see, I can smell, but doesn't come message.
Well,
And then sometimes I feel like something like a knife stuck into my shoulder. I can feel, I know someone tried, but no message.
well,
And then,
I feel the symbols of what you're experiencing. Part of the symbol would be the fact that when you feel like it's a knife in the shoulder, I feel it's a warning of certain people that are taking from you or pulling from you and not giving to you, they're taking from you. And for you to be able to step back enough from those individuals and no longer allow them to pull on you.
but I don't know who it is. And then I can feel from the third party. If not belong to me, I can exactly tell what they think.
Yeah.
But if thinking surrounding me or by myself, I don't know. That is more confused.
Well,
I
you're
don't.
picking up on others' confusion and energy, and you're feeling it then in yourself, and you're needing to be aware of not allowing it to be taken in your thought as being yours. It's not yours. It's what's going on around you. And I want to bless those individuals you're feeling things from. And if you recognize them and say like you know their name or whatever, it's fine. But if you don't, all you do is you surround that energy and light and you project the thought in your mind that God bless whoever this is, may they be in the light, may God guide them. And that way you're eliminating them from touching you and pulling from you.
And also like I can tell if someone asked me the what's happened or
Mm-hmm.
something, that person, I can tell, I don't know, I can, when I talking suddenly, I can start to talk what they thinking, what happened, blah, blah, blah. But if suddenly me, even though like my dog passed away a couple of months ago,
Yeah.
I confused someone poisoned me or, and then I have to stick it because, but I don't know if close to me, I don't get the answer. And then I thinking, and then makes me more like a trauma, like a
Well,
scare, fear coming.
one of the things, dear, you're thinking entirely too much. And I want to look at the face value of it, of what you feel, and put it out of your mind, out of your thinking, and don't allow yourself to be continuing to debate and think about it, because that draws it in more. And you're needing to be aware of the fact that at that point, they're not pulling on you. You're keeping it there. You're keeping the energy there. And I feel the need to be able to step away from that energy, and you surround them in light, you bless them, they're gone, period. And you don't allow yourself to rethink it, because you've been rethinking a lot of things and you rerun it in your mind.
Mm. Because like my daughter passed, no, my dog passed away. That time I feel like someone poisoned because suddenly and the diarrhea and some things going on, she suffer a lot. And then now I have a puppy. When I see a puppy seeing a diarrhea, makes me panic. And then,
I think your puppy's going to be fine, but I'd be aware of people that would have nasty energy, and if they'd want to do something to the animals around you, I would just be aware of that, and I would make sure your animal's not allowed to be in a situation where somebody could feed him something.
oh,
That's a shame there are people in the world like that, but it's sad they are.
oh. So, but sometimes my daughter say, I'm thinking too much. Don't
Yeah.
worry, but makes me so panic. But so that's why I cannot read it. I cannot do anything by myself. Only for the third person, I can feel what they think. But,
That's going to work for you, and I see you being a lot calmer.
what?
I see you being a lot calmer and be able to bring balance in that where it's not affecting you in the way that it has. God bless you there.
Thank you.
You're welcome. We have time for one more. We got a couple minutes. Who has a question? Anyone have a question? All righty. Well, listen, then we're getting to the end here. We got a couple minutes. God bless all of you guys. And I was going to send the thought and energy out in a small prayer for healing. May we surround everyone in the world around us with light, healing, bring energy of peace, bring energy of calmness, bring energy of balance. As we ask this in Spirit's name and God's presence, that God guide us, protect us until we see each other again. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
God bless.
Thank you.
God bless.
Thank you.
Take care.